Hello.
Hello, I am so excited for this podcast. So yeah, who do we Amanda, you tee 'em up.
Yeah. Okay. So today we have Matthew McDaniel, who is one of the founders and the chief of product at Roofle, and then we also have Chris Morris, who is the VP of partnerships. So like some big names in the space coming on here to talk to us about all things Roofle.
Yeah, check it out. We ask them the hard-hitting questions, push common pushback why people don't want roofle and what they discover when they do, dip their toe in the roofle pond. So tune in. It's going to be a great episode and you're going to walk away with some really meaningful takeaways. And yeah, we're stoked. Let's do it. Let's raise the roofle. Welcome to Trade Secrets, where we demystify digital marketing to help contractors get the most bang for their marketing bucks.
This is for you if you're a contractor looking for actionable marketing insights.
Learn from home services industry experts to elevate your business through simplified marketing strategies.
Let's dive into today's trade secret. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we hop in, we would love to just kind of give both of you the floor so you can kind of give us a little bit of background about your how you found yourself at Roofle and what role you play on the Roofle team.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, Devin, for having us. It's very exciting to be here and celebrate our resellers program with you all. And so I actually one of the founders of Roofle. I've been here since the inception, since it was just an idea on a napkin, and
Wow.
seeing it through. I lead the product and the marketing side of things, mainly focus on growth and product development.
Out there killing it. You can't find a roofing website without Rupal on it these days. So good work.
We got more ground to cover, but definitely appreciate that.
And Chris, how about you? How'd you find yourself at Rupal and what do you do on the Rupal side of life?
Yeah, not much on what I do. You can ask others. But I saw the journey almost since the inception, since it was B2C and then moved to B2B. Familiar with the founders, both in other lives, both for myself as well as for them. And been around the space. Let's just say that my career in the industry can legally purchase alcohol. So just been around and just love what software is doing for small and medium and even large size businesses, and in the way the ones that have really chosen to embrace it, the way that they've found efficiencies and new strategies. So and I help on the strategy side as well.
Awesome. Awesome. I have so many questions that I want to ask. Matthew, like you were there, you're one of the founders. How did you even get this idea? Did you work in the roofing space and then saw like a need, or did you work in the tech space? Because it's pretty awesome. And for anyone who doesn't know, Roofle is like a satellite based kind of instant roof quote system, but I think most people are familiar.
Yeah, so it is quite a long story. I'll try to keep it short though. But yeah, essentially come from the contracting space for more than a decade. I was really working as a marketing director for a national contractor, and just saw the technology evolving really rapidly, and also saw the opportunity that the buyer had really shifted to more online, and there was very little actual sales enablement being done online. And that's when we really saw the opportunity to go after sort of a software that would bring e-commerce to the roofing space is kind of what the initial idea was. And I think we've done a pretty good job getting pretty close to that. Again, still some ground to go. But yeah, met with Joe Hoffman, was the owner of that construction company. Him and I and a few others, Travis Arvigo, our CEO, also worked for that same company. So a bunch of contractors. We knew Chris. We worked with Chris as well. Mike Goldenstein. We had a pretty tight network of individuals that are now leading the Roofle team. And Brad, one of our CTO, who's our big tech engineer that can actually make sure that we weren't crazy, that this could be possible. So he was in charge of our initial prototyping and R&D. And so yeah, 2020, we actually formed the corporation and we took it to market. We built our first product as a B2C web application website, essentially where homeowners could go online and essentially buy the roof online. We wanted to test the market. We wanted to see if for one, if consumers were ready for this experience, and also fine tune that experience so we can actually have the highest impact and the lowest drop rate. So we're all about conversion
Smart.
optimization.
Yeah,
And
smart.
yeah,
Did a bunch of testing up front too. That's, I mean, that's critical. You weren't like, hey guys, I think this is going to work. Roll it out and sell it. It sounds like there was a lot of thought behind it and a lot of probably fun conversations around a boardroom with some A/B testing and everyone
yeah,
trying to break things, I'm sure, and figuring out like kind of like, yeah, where this fits in a market that hadn't seen it or seen it done well anyway.
we were definitely lost in blue ocean for a while, I'll just say. And we finally found some ground, and from there, we really developed quite a lot. And a lot of it's been a great feedback loop from actual users and users of the experience, and whether that's now contractors who are our clients or homeowners. So it's really been built around that user experience, and also what's out there for other e-commerce style experiences. We wanted to be as familiar as possible with what the gold standard is for online buying, and that's what we've tried to do.
Yeah.
I've got something just to dovetail off what Mathew was saying. I mean, it's interesting because I think the real story is that one is that the appetite from the consumer has been there and will continue to be there. It's just who can harness that demand. And our chief revenue officer, I stole it from him. He's like, we're not creating homeowner demand. We're just simply creating the best tool to harness it because folks want to buy this way. Let's be honest. I mean, there's been very few people that we've spoke to is like in opposed to that notion. But moreover is hey, going to the B2C and then realizing that other contractors that were involved in that program were like, hey, can I do this on my own? Like I want to do this in my local area, and that really lit the fire under that conversion. Now, what, Mathew? This month has been 3 full years.
Yeah, 3 years since we switched over to a B2B platform, a SaaS product.
Which is great, and two, I think it was interesting, Devin, what you mentioned, but like, and when I say recovering, I mean former, but all of us are recovering contractors in some way or fashion, and so I think understanding what Matthew said, that full loop and getting voice of the customer, we had a pretty good idea what that voice sounded like, so we were able to go kind of look in the mirror at times and say, would we have done this in different seats, and then go and get that full feedback from the consumer. So like we're really quick to change and pivot based on field feedback.
I was going to ask too, Matthew, from the very beginning to now, like, is there anything that really sticks out to you about kind of the way the buyer journey has changed or the way folks use the tool? Because I feel like when you first launched, it was still so new, and now like people almost expect this in other areas of their lives, so they're probably more apt to interact with the tool and more apt to use it.
Yeah, it's just interesting where I think the website journey is going in general. I think
Hmm.
it's more important than ever to create an experience on a website and not just be straight information. And so I think the engaging nature of being able to shop around, get information, build the education on this very expensive product that you probably only deal with once in a lifetime if you're lucky. And so it should be a good experience for them. It shouldn't be painstaking and shouldn't be a lot of anxiety there. We want to relieve as much pain and pressure as possible. And if the contractor's doing that, it's going to reward them immensely. And people that's one thing that we have seen change is the price transparency was one very big objection from contractors. And
Yeah.
now obviously we've proven that as a very accommodating experience that is very rewarding for the contractor. If they can give homeowners what they really want, then they're going to love them for it, and they're going to actually give them those 5-star reviews. They're going to not shop around. They're going to trust you because you're being transparent right up front.
Yeah. One of the things we talk to a lot of our contractors that are already using Roofle, they say how much they enjoy knowing that when the sales guy steps in that living room, that there's if the price objection, you've at least got a foot in that door if they've already seen their different options and they've invited you into their home and they're ready to keep that conversation alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's yours to lose at that point. You almost have to turn in the bedazzled jeans if you can't close that one. Just kidding on that. That's always an ongoing inside joke there. But yeah, it is
So,
true. We see a lot of close rates go up after implementing this system, and It's not just the lead count and the trickling down of all that comes from more lead volume, but it's all these other levers that we're able to optimize, the close rate being one.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on like two really like critical points, and is that you talked about like the ease of use for the homeowner and the expectation that they kind of anticipate when they interact with an instant roof quote tool, right? That's building trust there. But you also touched on the contractor side too, and that they're providing what the homeowner wants, but it's easier on them, it's easier on their sales guys. It lightens the load for kind of both sides of the fence. And years ago, I guess maybe 3, 4 years ago, it's like we had clients using it and they just thought they would put it on their website and turn it on and the leads would just come in. And I think they didn't realize, number one, I think buyer behavior has shifted so much with AI that like you have to have Roofle, you have to have an experience, an instant roof quote. We as humans now we expect it. We can get instant answers anywhere we go on anything. So it's like we've seen the data we have is nuts. Like how people interacted with websites before, how they got there even 3 years ago is different than just this past year. It's completely different. People, they've already vetted you out before they get on your website. When they get on there, they probably are going straight to the contact page. We've seen some other interesting data there, but my point is that I I think a contractor would be remiss not to have this on their site because that pricing transparency, like you said, and the buyer behavior, expecting and anticipating those instant answers. And then as a contractor, where you're trying to keep your sales guys busy, I mean, there's a million ways you can use Roofle. Say that they skip the part where they want to give their contact info, but you have their address. Like if your guys are hungry, send them door knocking, send them to the address. Some people have like, a direct mail campaign going that they could do that. But still, if you're hungry, like here's an address, go get it, buddy. There's just all kinds of ways that Roofle, I think, is giving homeowners a better experience and giving contractors a way to keep like their sales guys busy and provide a better experience and to build trust before they even like meet the homeowner. Again, obviously you guys know all this, but I'm just saying it out loud because I think it's
For sure.
yeah, and I think, and I talked about it openly. I was kind of like a skeptic at the beginning when Roofle first came out. My husband's a roofing contractor, and so like I had so many questions. I'm like, well, what if it needs to be redecked? Like, how do you know? And how is the pricing accurate? And how do you know about like this thing and that thing? And so when we set it up for his company, it was like the pricing is so locked in. He barely had to adjust anything. Like you guys have really, really done like great things with this. Like there is not in that part is I think one piece with contractors, they're like, oh God, I have to set up this tool. Where do I even begin? I'm going to be the bottleneck. I know I need this. Like, I don't kind of know where to begin. And that's going to lead me into my next like part of the podcast here. But the price, because we tried another like a price guide.ai, but the setup time and his time trying to like refine the pricing and get it right. And it wasn't like satellite based imagery. So it was a different idea behind pricing and trying to do that. But compared to what you guys have already kind of figured out on the pricing side, was crazy. But now, Amanda, this leads into this next question that you've got teed up here. I don't know how to transition this that smoothly, but pretty much the objections we heard from contractors were kind of like, I know I need to do this. I know I need it on my site. I don't know how to get the most out of it. And I think you guys maybe took that feedback. I'm not sure, but like where we find ourselves now is that Elevation Marketing has become an official reseller of Roofle. How did you guys come up with the idea to have a Roofle reseller program? Can you kind of tell us more about how this baby was born?
It was being in software before this that sold and provided solutions into the home improvement space before. So second go in the software and learned a lot. The first one is following the HubSpot model and just learning a little bit about how that they were against reseller and one of their lead sales folks were like, hey, I'll just take it. And it soon became their biggest one because they were doing so many things outside of just what the platform offered. And so whether that's solution architecture in different parts of the business or what have you, and they're really able to go tailor fit the solution to those businesses that HubSpot just couldn't do out of the box, if you will, or without a ton of customization, which is now putting onus on that user And as we know in the roofing space, is that someone says yes, they can afford it, but they just can't implement it. They don't have the staff, the bandwidth, the knowledge base to be able to do that. So what we did at the beginning is we doubled down on the customer success, the onboarding folks, because the little attrition that we got, most of it could be attributed to failure to launch. It's not just another Matthew McConaughey movie, but they weren't able to launch. And so why weren't they able to launch? Because they never put it on their site. They never did the things that they intended to do, or why they bought didn't come to fruition. So they said, okay, cool. Now we got to go one-to-one, which is anti-SaaS, right? So you should say, hey, here's how you do it. As soon as you sign up, you get your JavaScript, you're able to do this. It's all guided tours, what have you. And we just knew for the lovely people that we service, right? Us coming from that world, we just know that that probably was a fool's errand to think that that would just be getting done. Fast forward to, okay, what makes Roofle successful? It is not putting it on a site that doesn't get any traffic, expecting it to do miracles, right? That's not what it is. It's efficiency, and it's going to be a complementary to your current marketing endeavors, whether that be on or offline. So they said, okay, cool. Well, who handles that? A lot of times it's agencies. Well, and sometimes it was averse with Roofle and agencies because they thought, well, are they trying to take, attribution of leads? And that's not what we're doing at all, and not where the pricing model or anything is built to be. We're supposed to be complementary to that. It's built in a modular fashion. It's built to be white labeled, right? So the homeowner's not seeing Roofle anywhere. It's all one-to-one to that contractor, giving that authentic buying experience, which it is for that homeowner. And so we said, wow, who could do that better? So Mathew and I put our brains together and said, well, we really want to test and try this reseller program. We did the numbers and looked at a lot of agencies and saw that their conversion rates were going up significantly, sometimes exponentially, based on the way that they were leveraging the product. So we said, wow, great people like Elevation. They're doing really good stuff already with their contractors and customers. How can we go help them? And so that's really where it came to be. And quite frankly, we're really excited about it because we're a SaaS platform. We can't help in so many other ways in which an agency can.
Beautiful answer. Yeah, that's what I think early on our experience, these guys, some of them that we had, they're like, well, I put it on my site. We're like, well, how is it? How are the leads? Like, how's it going? They're like, I don't know. I just have tire kickers. Like, it hasn't worked. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, you can, if the site's not getting any traffic anyway, then I mean, what what was your expected outcome? That you just, people would magically know that you have this beautiful, amazing, highly accurate satellite-based image instant roof quote available. They wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That's yeah, brilliant.
And one of the questions we were going to ask you guys about too was just, what you see. I feel like this is this is going to be tangential to what you just said, Chris. The contractors out there that you see having the most success with it. Obviously, a lot of times they're hiring brilliant agencies, but are there other things that really stick out to you guys that you see that they're doing that are really making them leaps and bounds ahead of the next guy?
1,000%. And I would tell you this, I love this space and this industry. It's been really great for myself and my family. And I just love the type of people inside the home improvement space. So they've shocked us in a very positive way, and their creativity to be able to use it. I mean, I would say Mathew, again, 3 years ago, we solely talked online ish. I mean, 95% of the time online. Now we're seeing folks that almost have zero online footprint that are having success with.
Awesome.
We're seeing folks that are putting, landing pages for realtors and inspectors to be able to go get a general idea of what the cost of the roof would be for a resell or selling activity. We've seen folks, hard to guess that'd be in Wisconsin, but seen folks put it on coasters at the local establishments. We've seen yard signs and truck wraps. We've seen news sponsorships on cable stations and local news. We've seen billboards and all that. And so it's been awesome to watch how it's complemented their marketing portfolio. And I think that was interesting to us because if you imagine you put, most roofing contractors, if we're just talking roofing, most roofing contractors have yard signs and door hangers, right? And if you're not, you're listening, you should probably do that. But they're putting on magnets instead of replacing tire. They're putting magnets with the QR code that says, get your roof quote before you get home. Get your roof quote before you're done walking the dog. home of the instant roof quote. See how much, your roof, your claim could be. Door hangers, and so you can just imagine how much more disruptive that is than just a piece of mail or a yard sign that you're in the neighborhood. And so those have been great sort of case studies and testimonials that we've seen, is that it's really an efficiency tool. You've already paid for these things. So to Devin's point, it's not coming out of nowhere. You can't just say, "Hey, I got Roofle, I'm going to get a bunch of leads." Right? You say, "Wow, my yard signs are converting higher. Wow, my door hangers have never gone so far. Wow, we're doing digital door knocking from a social space with an ad." So it's more again, more of that complementary type platform.
Fun for Devin and I when we talk to our clients that are using it and they come back to us and are like, ah, like the sales guys are loving it. Like just hearing how they're just boots on the ground, like leaving printed out quotes on people's doorsteps, like just really making sure that they're chasing those leads down. We actually had a story. This is kind of crazy. We have a roofer who followed up on a lead and he figured out that the name that had been entered through their Roofle tool was the name of a sales guy from another roofing company in town. And he went and knocked the door of the home because the guy, he didn't have the proper contact information for the homeowner. And he went and he was like, I will get this lead. And it came through his Roofle. He knew the address. He went down there and he made sure they closed it. And we were all like, it was
Yeah.
very funny.
That's awesome.
Let that be a lesson, contractors. If you don't have it, your guys are using it on your competitor's site and you're losing a lead. Yeah.
Well, you could imagine
Anyways,
from like
yeah.
just what we found is the ones that have been, I would say, ultra successful have been using it with elbow grease. So they've been going and knocking a door instead of saying, "Hey, I'm Chris from, Hayes Roofing, and looking to see if you had any damage from the storm that came by October 15th." What, right? They're saying, "Hey, skip the line, right? Here you go. Here I'm hiring a high school kid, just going to give you a flyer and say, hey, in less than 30 seconds, you can see what your claim could be worth. Schedule your inspection today." I mean, like, which one's going to go further?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's quite obvious. And that goes back to kind of the origination of this thought, or at least questioning it, would be that the homeowners are not the tripping point. So they want that. They don't want a stranger coming, knocking the door and coming in their house for 30 minutes. That's my guess.
Mhm.
Right. Or
Yeah.
they want a stranger to come to their house for 90 minutes and try to build enough value to equate to a price where you're both sitting on pins and needles because he knows or she knows that it's going to be 3 times as much as what the homeowner's thinking, and all they want to know is if they can afford to get a need-based project done.
Can you guys get something going for siding too? Because there's a lot of demand for
Sidle
that.
Sidle might be in the works, but we'll see.
Yeah, that one it would be. We've got, yeah, a lot of siding contractors too. Yeah, it is true. If you can mix some of your, even like your relational marketing tactics with, like you said, putting some elbow grease behind it, and not just, it's not a set it and forget it type of tool, which, because of how easy it is to use, like that could be a pretty common misconception about it. I would imagine. What do you think, in your, like, kind of the feedback and everything you guys have heard as you continue refining the product and continue improving it? Like, what's some of the feedback or pushback that you've gotten about Roofle?
Yeah, it's less and less actually. We've definitely solved a lot of the, like, say, lack of
Yeah.
features or feature requests that, over time you just kind of say, all right, let's get this, like, weather data, for instance. We added weather data
Oh
that
yeah.
just kind of consolidating some of these, like, lighter tools that they're already using. And it might be the other thing, integrations, and I think that's where resellers also come in so strong is, DIY is cool, but ROI is a lot cooler. And you can
Yeah.
get a good ROI just by coming in and like letting it do its thing. But if you really want to maximize that, you're going to want to work with professional that can integrate it into your funnel, that can integrate it into your offline. It's all about that unification of your brand and your sales process with the tool. And it's good to bring in people that have already done it dozens of times and are power users, and it just
Mhm.
kind of shortens the learning curve there. So that's why we're so excited about resellers, because you know it works, you know how to make it work, and you know how to maximize the ROI for these contractors. So they've become believers a lot faster. And we definitely focused on our onboarding process as part of the the failure to launch Chris mentioned is the number one reason that we've had any resistance or churn from the product. It's just not using it. And I think Mike came up with this analogy. It's kind of like having this awesome brand new power nail gun, and you don't hook it up to a compressor. So you're just like, oh, this thing is great, and yeah, but you don't actually have the power behind it working. So I think having that integration with your system and with your sales process, driven by your agency and driven by your internal team, is where you're going to see the biggest impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
With Matthew though, like so what we would have heard about every call a couple years ago was I don't feel comfortable showing my price. My competitors will see my price. We also at that time didn't have what and kudos to Matthew and product teams, but we didn't have range pricing. So now the contractor had this internal dilemma. Am I going to show the lowest price and feel a little bit like a bait and switch? Or am I going to show the highest price and put myself out of the contention of getting that customer? And so the range pricing solved that almost immediately. I'm not sure how many people, I mean, most of our customers would use range pricing, and I would argue that I would too in their stead. But the other one is I mean, it was a little bit easier to overcome. It's like you don't know your competitor's pricing. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody wants a race to the bottom, like who, most of the contractors we work with that are like interested, and then once we kind of saw behind the curtain with Roofle, and we saw everything it could do, because it was either SEO or PPC for the most part. We weren't really fully integrated on everything else they had going on in terms of, all their marketing. We have an idea, but we don't manage it. It's either kind of service based, or we have a couple people where we do manage everything. So with them we were able to kind of see behind the curtain with Roofle, and we're like, oh my gosh, you guys can do this. Oh my gosh, this has webhooks. Like, let's connect this to, with a zap to Callingly. So you have that instant like speed to lead. But the way your sales guy talks to them, they get the whisper text that says they filled out an instant roof quote. So they know immediately the way they talk to that person versus just someone who did like a form submission is completely different. So once we could see what was available to us in there, we're like, oh my gosh, let's juice this thing up. And we like geeked out, set up all these zaps and like different like all kinds of stuff. And to your point, Chris, about like the kind of the range for pricing with that, we saw on the back end of Roofle that there was a way to like upload a customized video. So anything that like where the price might change, like if it needed to be redecked or whatever, whatever it might be, we have our clients shoot a video that says, as with any online quote, once we come out there and take the best ways for us to come out and take a look to give you the most accurate price. We don't know if you might need A, B, and C. And they just address it in that thank you video. And while that video is playing, like they're getting the call from the webhook that you have from Roofle, so that that person's staying on page until you're calling them about the roof quote they like just like received. So once we were able to like get into the back end, it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like these a lot. And how would a roofer know to even connect that or ask that question or peek at the tab that says webhooks? And if they've got like a dedicated like marketing person or IT person or agency, then it's a game changer. So for us, we love that you guys did this reseller program, because it does open the door for, you don't have to be like, a $4 million roofing contractor to juice this thing up. So I think that's where we developed our program, where we're like, let's get those guys that maybe they haven't even hit a million yet, but if we could set this up for them and set them up for success in a meaningful way, we hope to, of course, build that trust and that credibility with them. But I mean, this could really help these small businesses if they like knew how to get it going. And I think to Matthew's point, or you guys both said this about the biggest problem was that people didn't get, it was like a non-starter. They signed up for it and didn't get it on the site. As an agency, we know half the battle is access. I swear, they probably just didn't know how to get into the website to like get on there, because you guys do make it really, really easy. You don't have to have like, a tech degree from MIT or something to like get it on a website. I swear it's access. People are just like, I don't know how to get on my website. And we spend that's a big bottleneck when you first onboard someone is access to all the stuff and things. So,
Yeah.
Oh, you
anyways,
say things like DNS, and they're like, "Say who?"
Yeah.
Like,
Like they get real uncomfortable. And it's just these guys are so busy. Like the last thing they want
oh
to do is
yeah,
sit down and be like, and I have to learn all this new vocabulary. And that's why we need to swim in our lane and let them swim in theirs and go close the deals as long as we can keep them coming in through Roofle to begin with.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I think too, like one of the things I would probably give Matthew and our CTO Brad just so much credit for is knowing and running and being around roofing businesses to know that it's not always the best tech that gets implemented. It's a lot of times the one that's easiest to use. And I would ask anyone to look at their phones and see what apps they use and know that there are probably ones that are better than the ones you're using, but you know how to do it. You know exactly what you're going to get and you feel comfortable with it. Those integrations, whether deep link or through webhook and zaps, as you mentioned, Devin, are so big because we know that they're getting leads in many other ways. And to be able to go manage that from one screen and not have a million platforms open or try to go and sort of calibrate where everything's going from, nice and neat. And that's where you get the pass through analytics. Yep. And you have the UTM, right? Meaning staying on site. So that way you're able to go calculate that as a global look into it as a marketer and not just parse it out and try to attribute this for that. And then try to have that small and medium business owner once a month, try to understand what you're saying and try to say, are you really doing this? Are you really not doing that? And I think it's really, again, like I keep using, it's more complementary to that marketing portfolio. So that's a big thing for me, and what we harp on is being able to communicate to the other pieces of tech. So being that hub and that tech stack, so that way they can be able to use the other parts and pieces more effectively based on their affiliation with this platform.
and that you said something earlier too that I meant to comment on was that when Roofle first came out, that people were worried about like, agencies or I don't know, taking credit for the leads that came in. But yeah, it's anymore, any lead. You want any lead from any channel for your client. Like you want, I don't care where it comes in from. Like, yes, lead, especially, these days with like how big and important your entity is. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from. It's a lead and it's engagement and everything that has to do with Roofle is a signal that helps you float and be visible everywhere else. So truly like attribution is good. You want to see your ROI on any investment, but truly like if you're looking at like organic visibility inside of any large language model, like in Google, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is, engagement, time on site, people filling out this roof quote, it helps you. So it's actually like wherever the submission comes from, it's helping you. So
Yeah, and it's
I think
so much hands off too, like with the ability to scale without being present at all places. Like having the user actually drive the process so that you don't have to have the sales rep there at all times to educate her to get them across that finish line. Uh, it's that the homeowner driving the process, I think, is probably the most powerful part because it's that's where we came up with the line "sell roofs in your sleep" because you could literally be sleeping and homeowners are on there, getting themselves closer and closer to signing that contract, and having agencies that can create things like a explainer video or a founder video that boosts that landing page rate, quite substantially. If right before they get that quote, you're explaining how it works, you're explaining what the quote entails, and you're introducing your brand, and it's like those kind of things that contractors are too busy for. They know they need, and it just makes all the difference. Those little brand pieces and that all that thoughtful marketing that goes across all of your sources. And yeah, omni-channel is where it's at too. You got to be optimizing everywhere at all times. And, you get that halo effect that when you start doing that and everything kind of works better.
One other thing too that's interesting is I think there is a first mover, even though I appreciate the sentiments and from the elevation team, but there's still a mass majority of roofing contractors that aren't utilizing us or any other sort of instant estimation tools. Is there still that first mover advantage? We'll be here for a little bit from the SEO standpoint, right? Having it built into your top level navigation in your headers to be able to have it where it's instant roof quote, or Denver's instant roof quote, or Cheyenne's home of the instant roof, whatever it is. There's still that, because how can you tell? We'll go in your local markets and look up instant roof quotes and see what comes up. And so it's really awesome to see that, and to know that as consumers continue to go down the path that you described of getting answers or answer-based inquiry results, right? So now you start seeing, wow, this is where they're going. And now you're saying, hey, in 30 seconds or less, you can see what your roof's going to cost. Like there's just no doubt and what I mean by that is the agency has the ability, especially when they're hosting your site or building your site, is to have the correct architecture to go really utilize this to its fullest. And so, we're seeing an increase of, a few percent based on that. And you think in the totality of your entire marketing portfolio, like that's how you scale, is getting 1 or 2% better in these parts. Because if there was a magic lever to pull, people that were smarter, no offense to anyone on this call, than us, and had more money than us, right, would have already pulled that till the wheels fell off. So there's just a little things that, and I believe that good agencies are the ones that are really able to maximize that spend.
And one of the things I've loved too in all this, while we're over here figuring out all the agency side of life and coming up with all the different levers we can pull, is kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, how these guys are just using it out in the field. And on top of all of this, that's meeting the customer where they are, we're hearing people say like, I am closing the deal faster in that living room, even if I came about them in a more traditional way and they let me in the living room, they haven't seen a price yet, but I can give it to them that quickly. And the trust that builds, and how we're getting in there and having to parse out the leads we're driving from marketing, which we totally can, from the ones that we can tell. One of the sales guys used his own unique URL so that it's going in there and getting immediately assigned to him.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's a time that we love this as marketers, when sales and marketing are so cohesive, because there's times that we feel like we're at odds, and talk about a time that we can be on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally we can break bread, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
the war's over.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But it is interesting too, because that was one of the feedbacks that we got, was like, hey, I feel like we got this great selling solution, and I feel like people are abandoning because they think it's going to be 10,000 and it's 25,000, or what have you. And there's some merit to that. There is. That if you've got that one closer that could talk folks into doing things, that's terrific. But I tell you, just from my past experience, either running or coaching in this space, do you really want to drive across town for a one-legger that's just wanting to see? I mean, now if you know that they've seen the price range and all that, now I would ask you, what do you think the ether is of that salesperson? They're going to come in with so much confidence. They're going to stop by their local distributor. They're going to get a new sample board. They're going to make sure their truck or car is clean and ready. They're going to show up prompt, right? Not smelling bad. They're going to be, and they're going to really do a great job. And probably for those owners and managers that are with business, they're probably going to do exactly what you've been coaching and teaching, because their experience prior would say these people aren't in the market for it, and they would bias the lead, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Right now, it doesn't matter. They're going in and saying, no, this person has seen that it's between $27,000 and $35,000. They were online looking at it for 7 minutes and 38 seconds. They were looking at this and they got returned, because I got the same email they did. They were looking at the Owens Corning GAF, Certainty, Tamco, IKO, what have you, shingle. And now I've got the boards that they were looking at. I could tell the finance options that they were ready for. So I'm going to brush up, or maybe get some coaching from the sales manager before I go out, to make sure that I don't sound like a buffoon when I'm talking about finance with it. So they're doing all that. So now they're just in a better posture of serving that lead homeowner. And if they did that even without the Roofle, they would sell more. But again, history would tell them that 1 out of 4 are going to be a buyer, not a liar. And so now they combine that. That's why we do here. Now, this is anecdotal, right? For the ones that show up, we're seeing somewhere north of 70% close rate. But again, we have no way to get, even though we do have a small disposition tool that you could use, and you could, but those would just be what we're hearing. But I think it's more the environment in which I described, that they've already deemed themselves as not tire kickers by seeing the price. They've already scheduled through there. You've already seen what they've looked at. they've been in receipt of what you sent them, and they scheduled the appointment and they showed up. I mean, it's a good situation.
Absolutely. I think any business owner listening would love to put their sales guys in that position as often as possible.
Now it's nice to have also the trainability too, especially with pricing. Being able to have every single rep pricing the exact same is like, I'm sure, a huge relief for a lot of contractors and sales managers. That they bring these guys in, they're training them, and then it takes them a month to even figure out how to price a job. And then usually they're coming in low, and it's like, there's this tension between production. And so just being able to, like, right out of the gate have the same pricing, whether it's
Yeah.
sales rep A, sales rep B that's coming out, that saves. So, and plus, just again, back to the trust side of things, if let's say they do have a follow-up appointment, someone else comes out and now it's like they give them a totally different estimate, that happens. So
Yeah.
and price changes, you can easily roll out that price change across your organization, and it actually still logs that historical pricing, which is nice. So if you sent out that estimate with one price and then the next day the price goes up, you have the ability to either serve that price that you showed, or you can, with one click, update it to that new price across your quotes. And so it's just that kind of power to save time and kind of keep that consistency across your sales team that's so important.
The other thing too that was really interesting that I never thought about was just the so one is salespeople being creative, or productions where they would call the 6 pack or 12 pack, where you'd have whoever's sitting on the job, whether that be the salesperson's responsibility or a production manager or whatever, and then being able just to go hand out those things that said, we're doing your neighbor's roof in less than 30 seconds, see what your roof might cost, and just peppering around. But that's at elbow grease. And the other big aha, I was at a home and patio show, and there's a roofing contractor using the technology, and all they had was a huge flat screen with a QR code, and they were like, find out, again, sort of like skip the line, find out what your roof
Yeah.
could cost. And they got more leads than they ever had for a lower cost. And so think about it. So the folks put in their information, they got all that stuff. They combine that with an offer, a home show offer with a mailer based on the addresses, because you can export all those addresses. And so they hooked that up, and simply said is that they were able to go put that quote that the homeowner already had and go follow up with them, and they just absolutely murdered it
Yeah.
with that. So, and that again, that wasn't our idea. So that was just another contractor being
Just
smart with it.
tying it together. I know. Well, and what the another piece I like about it as a marketer is kind of the unique data set. You kind of have a whole different avatar you could create based off of like the zip codes and the types of houses and how big they are from the data that you're storing and getting from Roofle specifically. I like that because it's like, all right, who are the people filling this out? Where do they live? Can we guess their demographic, like based on the price of their roof and their homes and the shingles they like you can build out a whole avatar based on that. So like I'm liking geeking out about that. And then even the people that don't want to share their contact info, that's like a kind of a separate another separate avatar there. Like they don't want to share. So already they didn't want to give their info away, but you've got their address. So how you approach them is different. But yeah, there's so many, I don't know, pieces to this that are I mean, it's a great tool. And another like early objection we had was our exteriors contractors. They're like, I want siding, siding, siding. I don't want Roofle on my entire site. But you guys already had a solution. You don't have to have that tab site wide. You can have it just on your roofing page, create just an instant roof quote page. So we've actually had a lot of our exteriors guys that are heavy in siding, but like do roofing because, why not GC all of it on the exteriors? And now they're adapting it, and they weren't early adapters because they didn't realize that and I know the tools had that capability for a long time, but they just didn't know that. So yeah, so more and more it isn't just roofing specific in terms of like the type of services a contractor offers. If you do exteriors and roofing is one of those exterior services, like there's a place for you. You don't have to alienate your other buyers and making them think you're super heavy into roofing by having that tab on the whole homepage. Yeah. So I wanted to like make a point of calling that out because it's the tools evolved and Are there any other new, I don't know, updates to the technology on the horizon? Is there anything we should be looking forward to while we have you here?
We have definitely we're in development on our next big release is actually going to come the end of this year, the beginning of next year. So we're in a very long dev cycle, which is much longer. Usually we have a release once every month or maybe a month and a half, but so it's big. It has to do with another component of roofing, but it's not exactly roofing.
Ooh.
Put a little clue out there.
Okay. Okay. I have ideas. Yeah. A nice Easter egg.
What about the last release, Matthew, with the emails?
Yeah, so we did full customization to all of your automated emails. So the email that goes out right when they get their instant quote, you can customize the messaging, you can add project images, like you can really customize exactly how that looks and feels. That one as well as the product detailed request. So anytime they land on a specific product and they say, "Hey, I want more info about this," they can you can customize that email as well. So that was just released last week. Uh, we still have to do an update to the community on that one, so you guys can maybe help us with that.
Yeah. Heard it here first. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, you guys got the memo. You know it. That personalization. That's we want to feel like you're talking to us, and it's not just a 50,000 email spam going out to everyone. So, yeah, kudos. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, definitely have a lot on our in our backlog, a lot of improvements coming as well. We did release our finance calculator, so you do have to be using Contractor Loan Pro, which is our built-in financing. So you have to essentially apply to become a merchant in order to use that built-in financing. You can also use your own custom financing as well, but this kind of gives you a little bit more robust experience with instant AI-powered prequals, and so this financing calculator is a beautiful upselling tool. And you called out, having roofing leads by your GC, and just be by getting in the home, you got, and then now you can price out the siding. Now you can price out these other, other
Exactly.
upselling opportunities. And so we're really excited to be bringing this financing calculator where you can actually see monthly pricing and different rates and different loan options even before the prequal. So you can set it and say, okay, how much are you willing to pay per month? And now we can see how much they can actually get as a loan. And so now it's not
Mhm.
just anchored by the price of the roof, you're anchored by their credit potential, so they can tackle those other projects at the same time.
And what it ultimately does, it's a billboard of you, the roofing contractor, letting the homeowner know that there are different ways to be able to afford the services and products in which you provide. That is so big because if you're relying upon a sales rep right now, they have to take that in. There's so many other stimuli hitting them at the same time. And they got this, and the baby's crying, dog's barking. They're trying to do all this other stuff, and it's 24,000. Oh, I forgot to tell them that we have a promotion. Well, now you can be able to do that. And now that if the roofing salesperson understands that that the homeowner has a potential of already finding that information on their own, then they don't want to look the fool. And so now they're going to become, again, more prepared for that call based on the actions of the buyer. So it's really awesome because I actually think it makes them a better salesperson. It makes them more prepared, makes them understand the persona of that person a little bit better by in which they've searched, right? In the path in which they've taken to get there. So it's a really cool thing. So let me just tell this to any of the listeners: if you're not offering financing, you need to do it now. We know that the average ticket goes up around 17% for those that utilize OPM or other people's money. And so being able to offer that is really, really, really good. And being able to have that on your site and have tools in which you can interact with is nothing but good for that contractor.
Yeah, it's good for their conversion rate right there, having it on there, but it's also good for their visibility. It's that transparency and authority and on Google, LLMs, all around financing, pricing, that kind of transparency, it gives you credit, you know. They just want to see, are you who you say you are, who you are, what you do and where you do it, but do you have authority in the space that you say you do the thing, you know? And yeah, building trust is huge. So finance calculators, pricing, all that stuff is huge.
Well, it's hilarious because when we started developing and put that in, and people are like, oh, they already know I own finance or we offer financing. I'm like, go to any car dealership. you know that they have financing, but what is put on their windows? What is in their ads? What is all that, right? It's finance offer. It's all that. So yeah.
Guys, we cannot thank you enough for taking the time to be
Yes.
with us today. This has been awesome. There's so many good sound bites in here. I can't wait for us to chop it up and make shorts and just really start sharing all the awesome tidbits you guys gave us. We're so excited to be kind of a part of the broader family now as part of the reseller program.
Yeah, thank you so much, and let us know if we can help you try to break your new launch before it rolls out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It'd be
And if you
great
ever want
to
to announce
collaborate.
anything new, you're welcome to come on here anytime, and we're happy to.
Anytime. Yeah, let
Absolutely.
us know.
Definitely will take
All
you up
right.
on that.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Cheers.
Great, Billy.
That was today's trade secret. Thanks for listening.
Did you find this helpful? We're just getting started.
Subscribe and don't miss our next reveal.
Until next time.